can't appreciate enough what you do for our community. My title this year, I love the title. History may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. We've seen economic downturns before. We've recovered from those. Houston did not participate as much in this downturn. In fact, tomorrow I get an interview, global BBC radio, and they're coming to Houston to talk about foreclosures issues. They're going to be really surprised to learn that our home prices didn't go down, and then that's great news. Now, I got to tell the ladies this, I noticed that every one of your past presidents has been a woman. Did y'all notice that, men? And I love this picture. You've got a B-52 here and a woman pilot flying it and a handbag hanging off one fire extinguisher. I love what Winston Churchill said about women. They asked him, this right after World War II, and they were trying to make him look like a buffoon, and they said, first of all, Mr. Churchill, they say that women will run the world in the 21st century. What do you think? And to which he said, I imagine they still will. And I got to tell you all this. I used a slide last year of this kid I took on an airplane. I call him the human fishing lure. And the first day I used it, this kid sat next to me on an airplane, and the first day I used it, I'm in a room like this of realtors in Florida. And I had a man so angry at me afterwards because that was his son. And what are the odds of this? So I got a goat this time. I won't say anything else. You talk about innovation, and we all need to innovate. If you're in the Alaskan bush and you need a hot bath at the end of the week, how do you do it? Well, you scoop up a bunch of lake water, you build a fire in there all day long, and take a great bath, right? Yeah, I love that one. Local information is critical, so here we go. Local information. Yeah, hole-in-one. But in America, if you had a hole-in-one, you have to buy everyone in the clubhouse and drink. In Japan, you have to buy everyone expensive gifts. This is the next trip. He remembers this hole really well, trust me. See the new clubs and everything else like that? Y'all got it. You understand this right now. Actually, Stewart Morris Jr. sent me this. His assistant sent it to this week. I love this. What we should have learned 2,067 years ago. The budget should be balanced. The treasury should be refilled. Public debt should be reduced. The arrogance of officialdom should be tempered and controlled. And the assistance to foreign lands should be curtailed lest Rome become bankrupt. People must again learn to work instead of living on public assistance. Cicero, 55 BC. History may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. Isn't that amazing? And I love this one just to get on track about wordy words and everything else like this. If you talk about government bureaucracy, Pythagorean's theorem, Euclidean geometry, this is a squared plus b squared equals c squared on right triangles, 24 words. The Lord's Prayer, 66 words. Archimedes' Principle, 67 words. The Ten Commandments, 179 words. The Gettysburg Address, 286 words. The Declaration of Independence, 1,300 words. U.S. Constitution on all 27 amendments, 7,818 words. And a government regulation on the sale of cabbage, 26,000 There is no hope for us, folks. All right, realtors in the room. Realtors, if you heard my speech, you can't answer this. J.D. Powers comes out. They came out. They did a survey. Mark, you guys know this because your company did really well in that survey. Congratulations on it, Marilyn. What is the #1 most desired characteristic of a realtor by home buyers and sellers? What is it? What is it? Negotiation. I told you couldn't answer this because you heard my presentation. That's right. It's how you negotiate. They don't care that home prices, they don't care, but they want to know about your negotiation skills. So one of the things we need to do as realtors is start marketing ourselves as better negotiators. So if you want to have a challenge, a goal for improvement this year, go the negotiation route. All right, realtors, this is the next one. Mark, you can't answer that. Mr. Rob, you can't answer this one either. What does the number 12 mean to every realtor, residential realtor in this room? What's important about that? Come on.
months.
That's the number of homes the typical home buyer looked at last year before they purchased. How many of y'all tell your home seller that the typical home buyer looks at 12 homes? How many of y'all do that? Well, what y'all need to do, NAR has the free online, and you're real to remember, the home buyer, home seller guide right now. Y'all need to download it and study it, because if you want to be the expert in your neighborhood, you've got to do that. All right, here we go. Jobs are everything, period. And with that, we're going to talk about jobs. And let me just show you the difference between Houston and the United States. If you go to the end of November in 2000, 10 years ago to the end of this November, the U.S. lost 1.81 million jobs. In that period, we really need to add 100,000 jobs per month. That's the number of break-even jobs. We have about 100,000 people a month that enter the workforce. In that period, when we should have created 12 million jobs, we lost 1.81 million. We're down almost 14 million jobs to get back to where we were in November of 2000. And Stewart, you remember that wasn't a very nice year. We earned 4 cents a share then, if you remember that. Houston, on the other hand, in that same 10-year period, went from 2.275 million 2.518 million, we had 243,000 jobs. We grew 10% while the U.S. lost more than 1% of their jobs. And then the question is why, and I actually spoke earlier this week in Ohio, and man, y'all don't know how nice it is to be back in Texas. We're talking about the people, the weather, the attitude of the people. They always ask me, give us some good news about our local market. What do you tell someone in Cleveland? You tell them good news is you don't live in Detroit. And then every November I have to speak in Detroit. So they asked me, what's the good news for Detroit? We heard you in Cleveland last year. So my answer on that one, y'all love this one. The good news is I don't own any real estate in Detroit. Yeah. Guys, look at this. Why? So I'm asking, just the opposite in Columbus. I said, how come you lost so many jobs? And here's the answer. The Tax Foundation, by the way, I haven't mentioned it yet. Does anyone in here know I have a blog? blog.stewart.com. Who reads my blog? Amy, I know you do, because you send some emails on occasionally. This tax foundation is incredible. This will actually be up, if it isn't already, it will be up tomorrow or the next day. They look at business-friendly taxes. Where I was last week, earlier this week in Ohio, they're the 46th most unfriendly state. We're the 13th most friendly state. There are 9 states that have no state income taxes, but I will tell you that. We shouldn't vote too much. Have y'all paid your last year's property taxes yet?
Yes.